Aibuan, Salam Alaikum.
Aiwan. Alaikum.
Your Excellency, the Ambassador of Iran in Sri Lanka, Mr. Hashim Asjadis, and all the distinguished guests gathered in this webinar. Let me first of all thank sincerely the organizers of this webinar for inviting me to participate in this webinar. We published the book entitled Nine The Hidden Story due to our strong commitment and responsibility to educate the Sri Lankan people. In this book, I have revealed the most heinous and secret operations that the American imperialists carried out, which culminated in the events that took place between 9th May 2022 and 9th July 2022. Now, you are aware these events paved the way to install a new government or to change the regime, quite opposing to the massive people's mandate. So, it is a political whirlwind, the makers of which none other than the imperialist forces led by the USA. Sri Lanka has a unique position in the present geopolitics due to its location. Similarly, world communities aware of strategic importance and as such Sri Lanka is always vulnerable to the global strategic and power struggle in Asia. I would like to draw your attention to Russian President Vladimir Putin's speech delivered on 13th September 2022 in the event of referendum. There he pointed out that Western nations cannot exist without plundering the resources of other nations. Our country is experiencing daily the truth
Mr.
being
Wimal,
explained.
sorry.
Revolutions such as the Russian Revolution, the Chinese Revolution, the Iranian Revolution, and the Cuban Revolution in the world's history brought huge victories to the entire world and to the people in those countries. Yet, that people in countries
Mr.
like
Wimal,
ours have been
sorry.
dragged into misery by the so-called revolution
ایشون گفتن که خلاصه کلام
introduced by
آخر
the
جمله
Western
من
nations led by America. They described the so-called revolution in different names and colors. The countries such as Czechoslovakia, Georgia, Ukraine, Libya, Iraq, and Yemen can be given as examples. Sri Lanka has become the latest victim of the so-called love revolutions. In this book, I reveal the involvement of various people, various groups, and the American intelligence services who were behind this conspiracy. Though it is called a struggle by Western nations led by the United States, it was engineered in Sri Lanka for the purpose of regime change. It was also
Yes,
the
sir,
time
please.
that the new government faced with repayment of huge foreign debts that the previous government has borrowed as sovereign bonds. Yet the outstated President miserably failed to address the critical issues that led to the economic crisis. Also, the economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic further intensified the economic difficulties faced by the new government. As a result, the inflow of foreign exchange into the country dropped seriously. Also, another aggravating factor was the amendments introduced to the Foreign Exchange Act by the previous government. This amendment has legal provisions permitting to keep the foreign exchange earned from export in other countries instead of bringing them into the country. Accordingly, the new government faced more and more foreign exchange crisis. Mrs. Victoria Nuland was able to use these growing trends as tools to cause change the regime to suit the American strategic needs. Mrs. Victoria Nuland was confirmed by the Senate on 29th of April 2021 as the fourth ranking position in the US government for political affairs, and she took office on 3rd of May 2021. It is our estimation that she was appointed to this position in such hurry to pay special attention to Sri Lanka. Your Excellency, the influence of Russian and Chinese interventions in creating a new world order, as well as the role played by China in the Asian region by mediating with renew the Iran and Saudi Arabia's friendship are seen as threats to the American hegemonic power role. Due to the proxy war America is currently waging in Ukraine and the future wars with China, centered on Taiwan, it is imperative to make our country, which is considered the gateway to Asia, a breeding ground for them. Victoria Nuland is a person who has done great job in turning Ukraine into a land of genocide. Newland's involvement, Newland's involvement in changing the government of Sri Lanka was achieved utilizing the experience she gained in Ukraine, Libya, and other countries in Asia and Africa. Newland was greatly supported by Mrs. Julia Chung, the American ambassador to Sri Lanka. Mrs. Julia Chung made her intervention at several levels. Basically, she imposed psychological barriers to prevent the former president from enforcing the law against the conspirators. At the same time, Army Commander Shavendra Silva and other high officials of the security forces were made to obey her.
Vale.
At the same time, from top to bottom in the legal field, a large number of professionals who operated at the trigger of USA were activated. Next, she used subtle psychological tricks to manipulate the minds of the Colombo-centric middle class people to obey her. Those people were the ones who looked up to the so-called fighters who danced according to the American tunes. Finally, the section that Mrs. Julia Chung guided most closely was the social media operators, YouTubers, and bloggers. Some of that groups were directly paid and controlled. Others acted on the stimulus of the action of those who paid money. We hope
Vale.
to little bit. We hope to translate this book into English, Chinese, Russian, and Tamil languages very soon. By doing so, we are working to fulfill our international responsibility. Thank you.